I always knew my sister's baby shower would be the perfect place to destroy her life. That sounds harsh, but when you've spent 35 years as the family's rough draft, you learn to recognize an opportunity when it presents itself. My name is Yvonne, and I'm what happens when your parents accidentally have their first child 3 years before they're ready for the one they actually wanted. Ms. Shaw? Marshall's voice trembled slightly as he settled into the leather chair across from my desk. I appreciate you meeting me on such short notice, I smiled, maintaining the professional mask I'd perfected over years of wealth management. Of course, though I must admit I was surprised to see your name on my calendar. Shouldn't you be preparing for the baby shower next weekend? He shifted uncomfortably. That's partially why I'm here. I need to move some funds. Quickly. How much are we talking about? All of it. His knuckles whitened as he gripped the armrests. I need to liquidate everything. I pulled up his accounts, already knowing what I'd find. The SEC investigation had left digital fingerprints all over his portfolio. That might be difficult, considering the irregularities flagged by our compliance team. His face drained of colour. What irregularities? Let's see. Unauthorised trades, missing client funds, suspicious wire transfers to offshore accounts. I looked up from my screen. Would you like me to continue? Please, he whispered. You can't report this. Riley, the baby, our family's reputation. Your family's reputation? I let out a small laugh. That's rich, coming from the man who's been embezzling millions while my sister plans the perfect nursery. Recognition flickered across his face. You're Riley's sister, the invisible one. I closed my laptop. The one who wasn't worth mentioning at family dinners, I suppose. Listen, we can work something out. Actually, we can't. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. But don't worry, I'm not reporting you today. I wouldn't want to spoil the baby shower. He sagged with relief, but I wasn't finished. I've already submitted the report. They're just waiting for the right moment to act. I walked to the door, holding it open. Oh, and Marshall, you might want to ask Riley about Edwin. Or, better yet, wait until next weekend. I'm bringing a special guest who has quite a story to tell. Later that evening, my phone buzzed with a text from Peyton. Are you sure about this? I typed back. Already invited Zuri. She said yes. Girl, this is going to be nuclear. Your mum will never forgive you. I stared at the invitation on my coffee table, all pink and gold letterpress with hand calligraphed addresses. Classic Riley, everything had to be perfect. Can't lose what you never had, I replied. Another buzz. Just be careful. Revenge is a dish best served with an escape plan. I glanced at the manila envelope on my desk, stuffed with bank statements, DNA test results, and enough evidence to shatter the perfect family portrait my parents had been painting for 3 decades. My phone lit up again, this time with a message from Riley. Mum wants to know if you're bringing anyone to the shower. Please don't embarrass me like you did at my wedding. Ah yes, my wedding faux pas, wearing a pantsuit instead of a dress, giving a practical gift instead of crystal. The horror. Actually, I typed, I am bringing someone, an old friend of yours, Zuri Hayes. Remember her? 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before Riley responded. Why would you invite her? Because everyone loves a reunion, I wrote back, especially when there are secrets involved. I put my phone on silent and walked to my bedroom window, watching the city lights flicker below. In my reflection, I could see the same plain features that had disappointed my mother 4 years. Not Riley's golden waves or perfect smile, just ordinary me with my ordinary life. But they had no idea how extraordinary ordinary could be. I'd spent years building my career, earning trust, gaining access to exactly the right information at exactly the right time. And now, everything was in place. The baby shower invitation caught the lamplight, its metallic letters gleaming like a promise. Join us in celebrating new life and new beginnings. Oh, there would be new beginnings, all right, just not the kind they were expecting. The grand ballroom at the Riverside Hotel looked like a Pinterest board had exploded. Pastel balloons cascaded from crystal chandeliers, while fresh peonies and baby's breath decorated every surface. Classic Riley. Even the napkins matched her Instagram aesthetic. "Yvonne," my mother's voice carried that familiar note of disappointment. "Couldn't you have worn something more festive?" I glanced down at my cream silk blazer and tailored pants. "What's wrong with this?" "It's a baby shower, not a board meeting." She gestured at her own floral dress, identical to what half the guests were wearing. "At least try to blend in." "Where's the fun in that?" Before she could respond, Riley made her entrance, floating through the room in a blush pink maxi dress that perfectly highlighted her baby bump. Marshall trailed behind her, his smile as artificial as the sweetener in my coffee. "Everyone!" Riley clapped her hands. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate our little miracle." The crowd cooed appropriately. I caught Zuri's eye across the room. She'd positioned herself near the gift table, quiet but watchful. "Time for presents," my mother announced, steering Riley to the designated chair. "Yvonne, why don't you go first?" "Of course, get the disappointment out of the way early." I handed Riley the carefully wrapped package. "I made it myself." She tore through the paper, revealing the handmade quilt. Each square told a story. Photos transferred onto fabric, memories stitched together with precision. "Oh," Riley said, her smile faltering, "it's unique." "What is this, a craft project?" My mother lifted one corner with her fingertips. "Really, Yvonne, Neiman Marcus has a perfectly good baby department. I think it's beautiful," Zuri spoke up, her voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room. "Those are childhood photos, aren't they? I recognize that one from summer camp." Riley's head snapped up, finally registering who had spoken. Her fingers clutched the quilt tightly. "Zuri," she managed, "I didn't expect to see you here." "Clearly," Zuri smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's been, 2 years?" Marshall stepped forward, glass in hand. "Perhaps this is a good time for a toast." "Excellent idea," my father boomed, eager to move past the awkward moment. "To my beautiful daughter and son-in-law." Marshall raised his glass, his hand trembling slightly. "To family, integrity, and the legacy we're building together." I couldn't help myself. "Speaking of legacy, Marshall, how's the firm doing? I heard there were some interesting developments in the financial sector." He choked on his champagne. Riley shot me a warning look. "Everything's fine," she said quickly. "Marshall just made partner." "Did he?" I sipped my drink. "How fascinating. You know, I had the most interesting meeting with him last week." "Present time," my mother interrupted loudly. "Look, Riley, the silver rattle I told you about." The next hour passed in a blur of designer baby clothes and overpriced toys. I watched Riley's perfect mask crack slightly each time Zuri moved, within her line of sight. Finally, during a lull in the festivities, Riley cornered me by the dessert table. "What are you doing?" she hissed. "Why is she here?" "Who, Zuri?" I selected a macaroon. "I thought you'd be happy to see an old friend. You two were so close once, weren't you? Right around the time you started dating Marshall." Riley's face went pale. That was nothing. A mistake." "Funny how those add up, isn't it? Mistakes, lies, secrets." I met her eyes. "DNA tests. What are you talking about?" "You'll find out soon enough." I nodded toward Marshall, who was frantically checking his phone. "Looks like your husband just got some interesting news." "Yvonne," she grabbed my arm, "whatever you think you know." "Oh, I don't think. I know." I gently removed her hand. "And in about 20 minutes, everyone else will too." I walked away, leaving her standing there among the perfect decorations and expensive gifts. Behind me, I heard my mother's voice. "Riley, darling, it's time for your thank you speech." I checked my watch. Right on schedule. The truth, like revenge, was best served with impeccable timing. I escaped to the hotel's powder room, needing a moment to steady myself. Through the door I could hear my father's booming voice regaling guests with stories about his daughters. "Riley's always known exactly what she wanted," he was saying. "As for Yvonne, well, she's still finding her way." My hands gripped the marble countertop as I stared at my reflection. Finding my way? I'd graduated top of my class, built a 7-figure client portfolio, and bought my own home by 30. But sure, Dad, still finding my way. My phone buzzed. Peyton calling. "Tell me you haven't done it yet," she said when I answered. "Not yet, but I have everything ready." I lowered my voice. The DNA results, Marshall's fraud evidence, Zuri's statement. It's all here. Girl, this is going to destroy them. They destroyed me first. I checked my lipstick. Remember college graduation, when they skipped my ceremony because Riley had a modelling callback? I remember. I also remember you crying in our dorm room for 3 days straight. Not anymore. I squared my shoulders. Now I just get even. A knock at the door made me jump. "Yvonne?" It was Zuri. "Can we talk?" I let her in, checking that we were alone. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her bracelet. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. "Seeing her again. It's harder than I thought." "Tell me what happened that night," I said softly. "The whole story." Zuri leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. "Riley and I were best friends in college. One night she called me crying about Marshall. Said he'd been distant, that their relationship was falling apart. I went over to comfort her. And? We got drunk, really drunk. Marshall came home early. She swallowed hard. Things happened. The next morning, Riley acted like nothing had happened. Told everyone I'd made it up when I tried to talk about it. Called me delusional. I lost all our mutual friends. But that wasn't all, was it? No. Zuri's eyes met mine. 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant. Lost it early, thank God, but when I got the medical records, she pulled out her phone, showing me an old Instagram post. Riley at a party, wearing a distinctive bracelet. That's mine. She took it that night and never gave it back. Kept wearing it like some sick trophy. My own phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. DNA results confirmed. Ready when you need them. Edwin. It's time, I told Zuri. You ready? She nodded, straightening her spine. Ready. We returned to the ballroom just as Marshall was checking his phone again. I'd arranged for his law firm to send the SEC notification exactly now. His face went ghostly white. Everything okay, honey? Riley called out, all sugary concern. Fine, he choked out. Just work stuff. My mother was arranging everyone for Riley's speech, fussing over the lighting and camera angles. Perfect Instagram moments, as always. I pulled Peyton aside. Watch the exits. When this blows up, Marshall's going to run. Already on it. My husband's got 2 officers outside, ready to detain him for questioning. You're the best friend ever, you know that? She squeezed my hand. Just promise me something. After this is over, let it go. Don't let revenge become your whole story. Before I could respond, Riley clinked her glass for attention. She stood in the centre of the room, one hand resting on her baby bump, the picture of maternal bliss. I want to thank everyone for coming today, she began, her voice honey-sweet. Marshall and I are so blessed to be starting our family, surrounded by such love and support. I caught Zuri's eye across the room and gave a slight nod. She stepped forward, envelope in hand. Actually, Zuri's voice cut through Riley's speech like a knife through butter. I think there's something everyone needs to hear first. The room went silent. Riley's perfect smile froze in place. Marshall's phone buzzed again, probably his lawyer warning him about the SEC. He looked like he might faint. My mother started to intervene, but my father held her back, something uncertain flickering across his face. This was it. The moment I'd waited 35 years for. Time to show them exactly what the invisible daughter could do. I'm sorry to interrupt such a beautiful speech, Zuri said, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. But I think we all deserve to hear the truth today." "Security!" my mother called out, but no one moved. Riley's perfect smile cracked slightly. "Zuri, please don't do this." "Do what?" Marshall stepped forward, his face ashen. "Riley, what's going on?" Zuri pulled out her phone. 2 years ago, Riley invited me over after a fight with Marshall. We got drunk, and then Marshall came home early. What happened next? She took a deep breath. Well, Riley told everyone I was lying about it, but I wasn't the only one who got hurt that night. The room went deadly quiet. My father's champagne glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the marble floor. "That's ancient history," Riley said quickly. "And it never happened. Zuri's always been unstable. Then explain this." I stood up, pulling out my own envelope. "Medical records don't lie, Riley. Neither does DNA." Marshall's face contorted. "What DNA?" "The baby's." Zuri's voice cracked. "I lost mine, but Riley kept hers. Only it wasn't Marshall's, was it?" "Stop this right now," my mother shrieked. But I wasn't stopping. Not now. "Tell them about Edwin, Riley. Tell them about your real baby's father." The colour drained from Riley's face. "You're lying." "Am I?" I nodded toward the ballroom entrance, where Edwin now stood right on cue. "Why don't we ask him?" "Riley!" Marshall's voice was barely a whisper. "What are they talking about?" Riley backed away, bumping into the gift table. "It's not... I can explain." "The DNA test is right here." Zuri placed the envelope on the table. "Along with the dates, the medical records, everything." "You vindictive bitch," Riley snarled at me. "You planned this whole thing." "Actually, you planned it," I replied calmly. "I just kept better records." Marshall lunged for the envelope, ripping it open. His hands shook as he read the results. "No," he moaned. "No, no, no." "Marshall!" Riley reached for him. "Baby, please!" He recoiled. "Don't touch me. Was anything real? Any of it?" "Speaking of real," I added, "the SEC might have some questions about those offshore accounts, Marshall. Fraud investigators tend to be curious about missing millions." The room erupted into chaos. My mother fainted dramatically onto a nearby chair. My father stood frozen, his face unreadable. Guests started whispering and pulling out phones. "You've ruined everything!" Riley screamed, shoving past guests toward the exit. "I hate you! I've always hated you!" Marshall tried to follow, but Peyton's husband stepped in, showing his badge. "Sir, we need you to come with us." "Riley, wait!" Edwin called out, starting after her. But Riley was already gone, leaving behind a room full of shocked faces and shattered illusions. My mother recovered enough to point a shaking finger at me. "How could you do this to your sister?" "How could I?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "How could you do this to me? 35 years of making me feel worthless, invisible, never good enough. Well, guess what? The invisible daughter sees everything." "Yvonne," my father started, but I cut him off. "Don't. Just don't." I gathered my purse. "The SEC will be calling about Marshall. The press probably too. Better get your story straight." Zuri touched my arm. "Are you okay?" I looked around the beautiful ballroom, at the scattered guests and fallen decorations, at my parents finally seeing me for the first time, at Marshall being led away by officers, at Edwin standing awkwardly by the door, holding the truth that would change everything. "I'm perfect," I said, and for the first time in my life, I meant it. Behind us, the baby shower cake toppled over, pink frosting spreading across the pristine white tablecloth like blood in water. Sometimes karma needs a little help, and sometimes the help comes from the last person anyone expected. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect when a perfect family portrait shatters, sharp edges everywhere, and everyone bleeding. "She's clearly unstable," my mother announced to the remaining guests, her voice shrill. "Jealousy has always been Yvonne's problem. Remember that time she refused to be Riley's maid of honor? Actually, I pulled out another folder. I was in the hospital that weekend. Appendicitis. You told everyone I was being dramatic and went to the wedding anyway. That's not... Here's the hospital bill. I slid it across the table. The one you refused to help with while paying for Riley's 3rd trip to Paris that year. My father's friend Robert, a corporate lawyer, picked up the SEC documents I'd brought. His eyebrows shot up as he read. "Albert," he said quietly to my father, "this is serious. Your son-in-law's looking at federal charges." "Impossible," my mother snapped. "Marshall is..." "About to be indicted," I finished. 14 days, give or take, unless he turns himself in first. The remaining guests were hurriedly gathering their belongings, mumbling awkward excuses. Peyton was by the door, making sure Marshall didn't slip away before the officers finished questioning him. "You've destroyed this family," my mother hissed. "No, Mom. You did that years ago. I just exposed it." A commotion by the service entrance drew our attention. Riley had reappeared, her mascara streaked down her face. "You!" She lunged at me, but Edwin caught her arm. "Riley, stop," he said softly. "It's over." "Over?" She laughed hysterically. "My marriage is ruined, my reputation is destroyed, and my perfect sister finally got her revenge. How is this over?" "Perfect sister?" I stepped closer. "Is that what you think this is about? Isn't it? You've always hated that they loved me more." "Loved you more?" My voice cracked. "They didn't love you more, Riley. They used you, made you their trophy, their perfect doll, and you let them because it was easier than being real. That's not... Remember when I got that scholarship to Harvard?" I pressed on. "Mom said it was showing off and made me decline it because you didn't get in anywhere that year. I never asked for that. No, you just stood there and watched, like you always did." My father finally spoke up. "Yvonne, that's enough." "Is it, Dad? Because I don't think it is." I turned to face him. "Want to explain why my college fund went to Riley's wedding, or why you told my first boss I was emotionally unreliable when he called for a reference?" He paled. "How did you..." "I have copies of everything." I patted my bag. "Every email, every bank statement, every little betrayal. I'm a wealth manager, remember? The invisible daughter you never bothered to know about. Turns out we're pretty good with paper trails." "Please," my mother tried again, "we can fix this. As a family..." "We were never a family," I cut her off. "We were a performance, and I was the understudy who never got to go on stage." Riley slumped against the wall, her hand on her stomach. "What happens now?" "Now?" I looked at Edwin. "Now you deal with the truth. All of it. The baby, Marshall's fraud, everything." "You don't win from this," Riley whispered. "You only destroy everything." "Maybe that's the point." I gathered my things. Sometimes things need to be destroyed before they can be rebuilt. As I walked toward the door, my mother called out one last time. "Yvonne, please, what do you want from us?" I turned back, seeing them clearly for the first time. My perfect sister, broken and real. My parents, their carefully constructed world crumbling around them. The truth finally exposed in the harsh light of day. "What do I want?" I smiled sadly. "I wanted you to see me, just once, to really see me. Congratulations, you finally did." The door closed behind me with a soft click, leaving them with the mess they'd created and the daughter they'd never bothered to know. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about winning. It's about finally being seen. I made it halfway to my car before Riley caught up with me in the hotel's garden courtyard. The fairy lights strung through the trees cast strange shadows across her tear-streaked face. "We need to talk," she said, her voice raw. "Just us, no audience, no perfect family act, just sisters." I sat on a stone bench. "Fine, talk." "I never meant..." she started, then stopped, tried again. "Do you know what it's like, being the favourite?" "Poor you." "No, listen." She paced in front of me. "Every day, every single day, I had to be perfect. One mistake and Mum would say, 'Don't disappoint us like your sister.' One bad grade and Dad would remind me how I was their last chance at having a successful child. And you just went along with it, because it was easier. She collapsed onto the bench beside me. Being perfect was exhausting, but being invisible like you, that terrified me. So you let them destroy me to save yourself? Yes! She buried her face in her hands. God, yes, and I hate myself for it, but every time I saw you fighting back, being yourself despite them, I got scared. Because if you could do it, then you could too. But I couldn't. I'm not strong like you, Yvonne. I never was. She looked up, mascara streaking down her cheeks. So I married Marshall because Mom approved. I got pregnant because that's what perfect daughters do. And when it turned out to be Edwin's, you lied again. I didn't know how to tell the truth anymore. Her hand rested on her belly. I still don't. A security guard walked past, pretending not to notice us. Inside, I could hear raised voices, probably our mother having another meltdown. Why Edwin? I asked finally. Because he saw me. The real me, not the perfect daughter version. She laughed bitterly. Ironic, right? The one time I'm truly myself and it blows up everything. And Zuri. Riley's face crumpled. That night, I was so drunk, so tired of pretending. Marshall came home and everything just... I couldn't handle it, so I did what Mom taught me. I buried the truth and blamed someone else. You destroyed her. I know. She wiped her eyes. I destroy everything I touch, just like Mom. The door to the hotel opened and our father stepped out, looking lost. He saw us but didn't approach. You want to know the worst part? Riley continued. Every time they praised me, every time they held me up as the perfect daughter, I looked at you. You were building your own life, making your own choices. And I was so jealous I could barely breathe. Jealous of being treated like I didn't exist? Of being free? She met my eyes. You don't inherit their love, Yvonne. You inherit their cruelty. And I let them make me cruel because I was too weak to be anything else. I stood up, smoothing my pants. So what now? Now? She laughed hollowly. Now I'm pregnant with my ex-boyfriend's baby, my husband's going to jail, and my sister just exposed every lie I've ever told. I'd say we're way past now. The IRS will be investigating Marshall's accounts, I said, including yours, and the press will have this story by morning. I know. She looked smaller somehow, stripped of her perfect facade. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Not just for today, but for everything. Every time I stayed silent, every time I let them hurt you. Sorry doesn't fix 35 years. No, she agreed. It doesn't. Our mother appeared in the doorway, makeup perfectly fixed despite everything. Girls, please can we discuss this as a family? Riley stood up, one hand protectively over her stomach. There is no family, Mum. There never was. Just a pretty picture you forced us to pose for. I turned to leave, but Riley caught my arm. Yvonne, thank you. For what? For being strong enough to break the frame. I walked away, leaving them in the garden with their shattered illusions. Behind me, I heard my mother start to speak, then stop. No hugs, no real apologies. Just silence where a family should have been. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it just confirms what you've known all along, that some things can't be fixed, only finished. 3 days after the baby shower, my living room looked like a war room. Newspapers were spread across my coffee table, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing, and Peyton sat cross-legged on my couch, reading headlines aloud. Local financial advisor arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud case. Society wedding couples, perfect life unravels. Oh, this one's good. Baby shower becomes family showdown. She looked up. You're trending on Twitter. Wonderful. I poured more wine. Any word from Marshall? Your contact at the SEC says he's cooperating, trying to cut a deal. She picked up another paper. Riley's accounts are frozen. Your parents' country club membership got revoked. My phone buzzed again, a text from Edwin. Riley agreed to meet. Thanks for handling this quietly. At least someone's grateful, I muttered. Speaking of grateful, Peyton set down her glass. Are you? Is this victory everything you hoped for? Before I could answer, my doorbell rang. Zuri stood there holding takeout. Thought you might need dinner, she said, stepping inside. And company. How are you holding up? I asked. Better than Riley. She unpacked containers of Thai food. She called me yesterday, actually, apologized for everything, said she's starting therapy. Probably court-ordered, Peyton snorted. Maybe, Zuri shrugged, but it's something. My phone lit up with a text from my mother. Do you feel better now? Delete it, Peyton advised, reading over my shoulder. They don't deserve any more of your energy. But I couldn't. Those 5 words captured everything. The accusation, the guilt trip, the refusal to acknowledge their role in any of it. You know what's funny? I said, stabbing at my pad thai. I thought exposing everything would feel more satisfying. Revenge usually doesn't, Zuri said quietly. Trust me, I know. But they deserved it, I insisted. All of it. Did they? Peyton leaned forward. Or did you just need them to finally see you? The doorbell rang again. This time it was my father, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Can we talk? He asked. I let him in, watching him take in my apartment. The view of the city, the elegant furniture, the evidence of success he'd never bothered to notice before. Your mother's devastated, he started. That's not my problem. No, he agreed, surprising me. It's ours. I failed you, Yvonne. Just figuring that out now. He picked up one of the newspapers. All these years, we thought Riley was the successful one. But look at you. Your career. Your life. You built all this while we weren't looking. You weren't looking because you didn't want to see. I know. He set down the paper. The thing about pedestals is they're lonely places. We put Riley up there and she's been falling ever since. But you built your own foundation. Save the metaphors, Dad. What do you want? To apologise, though I doubt it matters now. My phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from Riley. Edwin's helping me find a place, away from Mom and Dad. Maybe we could talk sometime. Careful, Peyton warned. They might be trying to manipulate you again. But something felt different. Maybe it was my father's slumped shoulders, or Riley's tentative olive branch, or just the weight of secrets finally lifted. You know what the worst part is? I told my father. I didn't even enjoy it. The revenge, the exposure. It felt hollow. Because it doesn't fix anything, Zuri said. It just changes the landscape. My father moved toward the door. For what it's worth, I am proud of you, not for exposing us, but for surviving us. After he left, Peyton raised her glass. To surviving? To thriving, Zuri corrected. I looked at my phone, at the texts from my broken family trying to navigate their new reality, at the headlines declaring the end of their perfect facade, at the truth finally set free to do its damage. Maybe, I said to both. Because sometimes winning isn't about the victory. Sometimes it's about learning to live with what comes after. The autumn wind scattered leaves across my porch as I finished packing up my home office. My company had promoted me to head of wealth management. Ironically, my handling of Marshall's case had impressed the board. My doorbell rang. Riley stood there, her baby bump now prominent, holding a familiar package. The quilt, she said softly. I found it while unpacking at my new place. Keep it, I replied. It's for the baby. That's why I'm here. She shifted uncomfortably. Edwin and I talked. We want you to be the godmother. I stared at her. Are you serious? Look, she sat on my porch swing. I'm trying to build something real for once. No perfect facade, no lies, just truth. And you're the only person who's ever forced me to face it. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother asking to meet for lunch. I ignored it. How's therapy? I asked Riley. Hard, really hard. She traced the quilt's patterns with her finger. Turns out when you spend your whole life pretending, learning to be real feels like drowning. And Marshall, taking a plea deal. Dad's friend Robert is handling the divorce. She managed a small smile. I'm keeping my job at the gallery. Turns out I'm actually good at it when I'm not just doing it to please Mom. The wind picked up, sending more leaves dancing across the porch. Inside, I could hear Peyton and Zuri setting up for our weekly dinner. They're still trying to fix it, you know, Riley said. Mum and Dad. They keep throwing money at the problem, like always. Some things can't be bought back. No, she agreed, but some things can be built new. She stood up. That's why I want you as godmother. This baby deserves to know what real strength looks like. Before I could respond, a car pulled up. Edwin stepped out, followed by Zuri. Hope you don't mind, Zuri called out. We brought extra food. Thought maybe we could all eat together. I looked at this strange new family forming from the ashes of the old one, Riley and Edwin, tentatively building something honest. Zuri turning pain into forgiveness, Peyton, my constant anchor. Come in, I said. All of you. Over dinner, Riley showed us the ultrasound pictures. Edwin talked about the parenting classes they were taking. Zuri shared stories about her new art therapy practice. Your parents called me, Edwin mentioned. Wanted to discuss arrangements. Let me guess, I said. They offered money? I told them the only arrangement I want is honesty. He squeezed Riley's hand. We all did. My phone lit up again. Another text from my mother. We miss you. This time I replied, you miss who you wanted me to be. Learn to see who I am. Brutal, Peyton commented, reading over my shoulder. But fair, Riley added. They need to learn, like I'm learning. Later, after everyone left, I found the baby quilt still on my porch swing. Pinned to it was a note in Riley's handwriting. Keep it for now. Give it to the baby when you're ready to be Aunt Yvonne. No pressure, no perfect timing required. Just truth. I brought the quilt inside, running my fingers over the stitches. Each one represented a moment, a memory, a piece of our complicated history. But maybe that's what family really was. Not the perfect picture, but the messy stitching holding it all together. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Riley. Thank you for breaking us. We needed to shatter before we could rebuild. I looked at the quilt, at the photos of a family that never really existed, and realized something. Revenge hadn't fixed the pain, but it had removed the silence, and in that space something real could finally grow. Not perfect, not Instagram-worthy, just true, and maybe that was the best revenge of all. Not the destruction of their perfect world, but the creation of my own authentic one. I picked up my phone and typed back, next week, same time. Bring sonogram pictures. Aunt Yvonne wants to see. Because sometimes the happy ending isn't about forgiveness or revenge. Sometimes it's about finding your own truth in the aftermath of both.